Stamp duty is to be abolished. Well, not quite. That's according to Kemi Badenoch, the leader of the Conservative Party, who made this surprise announcement at the party conference on Wednesday, saying that if the Conservatives win the next election, which is probably 3 or 4 years ahead anyway, away anyway, they will pledge to abolish stamp duty for home buyers. Let me give you some more details on that. Now, for decades, we know that stamp duty has been a pain in the neck for so many buyers, and it's become obscene now. You've got first-time buyers paying 30, 40, even £50,000 stamp duty on a property purchase. And I used to buy properties for that, for that amount of money. It used to be stamp duty used to be 1%, and it was like nothing. It's a bit of stamp duty, a couple of thousand here, and now it's got out of hand. And the worry is that it's stopping the higher end of the market from moving and from properties being sold, and therefore people can't move up the scale, if you like. And as I said to you, I know people trying to sell properties at less than they bought them for 13 years ago. And certainly at the 900 to million and a million plus end of the market, things are just not moving. So it's holding up the whole market, really. However, there's always a few critics, isn't there? This could make housing more affordable for families, help get things moving, stimulate the property market. But there's always a few critics, and some critics warn that this could push up house prices. Well, that wouldn't be a bad thing. Prices have been pretty stagnant for a while now, and this could make it more difficult and blah blah blah. But I think it's a good thing if it happens. But of course, we're a long way from the next election. We don't even know if Kemi Badenoch will be the leader of the party by the time of the next election. And we don't know, frankly, if they would win an outright election. At the moment, their popularity is down. It's gone up a little bit since this announcement, but Labour have got a massive majority. And the party that seemed to be most likely to win the next election is Nigel Farage's Nigel Farage's Reform. Now, this doesn't include, by the way, this announcement doesn't seem to include the stamp duty surcharge on second homes and buy-to-let landlords. Unfortunately, sorry guys, but this actual form of stamp duty this extra surcharge was brought in by none other than George Osborne, who was the Conservative Chancellor when he brought this in, I think 2016. He also brought in Section 24 landlord tax, which has buggered some landlords, and it means they can't claim the interest back on the mortgage as any other business loan would do so. And this has put many landlords who've had cash flowing properties, it's put them into deficit now. And if you want to know more about that and how to get around that, check out the link on the description, and you can see an interview I did with a chartered accountant and tax advisor talking about stamp duty. So whilst the Conservatives are lagging in the polls, this could be a good policy. Now you might say, well, so what? What's it got to do with me? Well, look, they are lagging in the polls. It is time for a good few years away from an election, but it could force Labour's hand into doing something about the stamp duty and other hassles that are holding up the property market and costing buyers a lot of money. Now, Labour's own plans seem to include things like putting forward some sort of sellers pact that was proposed many years ago, and I think it eventually fell by the wayside, and perhaps forcing sellers to maybe have a survey done or give a condition of the property before they put it on the market. They're also planning to speed up the legal process, but I kind of heard this before. These are all planned before, and I think we got left with this awful uh, report on, it's gone now, EPC report. That's what we're left with after all of this talk a few years ago. It was trialed in one area, and I'm not sure it would work. And the proposal by Conservatives doesn't include Scotland and Wales that have their own government, of course, and they've got their own deal going on there. So we want to break this down. Let me just share a couple of things with you, and you can see where we are with this. Okay, let me just share this with you here. Conservative would scrap stamp duty, says Kemi Badenoch. She is the leader of the party, but not very popular with MPs and most members. So I don't know how long she will last. It depends on the next elections next year, the local elections, see how they do. otherwise she could be out anyway. It was obvious that she didn't share this with her cabinet because many of the cabinet members were surprised that it hadn't been, her shadow cabinet rather, hadn't been shared with them. So I don't think they're going to be very happy about this. Stamp duty here, it says paid by people buying homes in England and Northern Ireland for more than 125,000, but first-time buyers are exempt on it for properties up to 300,000. I recently bought an investment property for only 60 odd thousand. I got charged £3,000 stamp duty. So this is all about home and residential buyers. And they don't seem to realise that they need landlords. They do need landlords, and landlords are leaving the industry in their droves, and that's pushing up rents. And it gives here 5 ways that this could benefit house prices. Five uh, 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 ways that this could change the housing market. House prices might rise. Yeah, okay. Tax cut for the wealthy. It's not just for the wealthy, is it? It's for people who want to buy a house. This BBC is so left-wing and woke. Um, Easier to find somewhere to move to. Yeah, that's quite obvious, BBC. Yeah. And they also go on to say potential tax rises elsewhere. And the problem with this is it's going to cost around 10.5 to 11 billion. This is what the stamp duty raised. In fact, the record level it seems to be under the Conservative years here. 22, 23. Look at the amount it raised, 15 billion. So that's 15 billion been snatched from people buying homes or buying second homes to rent out to people who want somewhere to live. We know that the government are not building enough homes, and that's not going to happen. All these building targets, it's just pie in the sky. But 11 billion last year, 15 billion in 2023. So that money's got to come from somewhere else. And all they're saying is, oh yes, we'll make savings on the welfare budget. Well, we've all heard that before as well. The last time they tried that, it was Ian Duncan Smith. He did cut a lot of welfare benefits out, and he made it more difficult to claim sickness benefit. But now we've got a record, I think it's 5,000 or 6,000 people a day applying for some sort of benefit. And we've got over 6 million people on benefits in this country, whether it's sickness benefit, I've got mental problems, I can't work, give me a car, give me this, give me that, give me benefits. Yeah, it happens. And it's a crazy situation, and it cannot go on because the amount of people working just cannot afford to support the people who are laying at home in bed watching daytime TV. So something's got to change. But I'm not sure whether this will ever see the light of day, but it might force Labour to review things and reduce stamp duty or make it easier for people to buy. This is a report by the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors saying sluggish property market to roll into next year. Yeah, I agree with that. The market is sluggish. Sales activity posted a minus 16% net balance. And really people are worried about their income, they're worried about their job, they're worried about the budget coming up in November and what other taxes will be imposed on them, because the government have got a massive deficit. They borrowed 80 billion in June alone, and that's added then to the deficit of the overall national debt, which is 2.7 trillion, costing something like £5,000 a minute in just interest. The interest alone is bigger than health, welfare. Sorry, it's not bigger than health. It's bigger than state pensions, education, and business and industry and defence. So it's crazy the amount of interest we're paying. It's something like 12% of tax goes just to pay interest. So the country's kind of living on borrowed money. It's living on a credit card, if you like. So what will happen to the housing market? I don't know. I think the housing market it will fall, but I don't think it's going to completely crash. I've been to a few webinars and seminars recently, and most of the people in the know, the people who buy and invest a lot of money in property, are still buying this. They're looking for any bargains they can pick up. They're looking for deals that are out there where people can't sell and need to do a deal. And that leads me on to saying, can there's a lot of talk about buying properties with no money down. Can you acquire, control, or buy property using none of your own money? And of course, the answer is yes, you can. You use other people's money. You use techniques such as options or even rent to rent techniques to own or acquire properties and then make money from those properties. You can also go to investors, do joint ventures. There's multiple ways. And I'll put at the end a link to some free webinars you can go to or look at online to see how you can adopt some of those techniques. I know a lot of people who've got into the market with nothing. Some of them come from Europe and they've come here with literally nothing. And now they're making a lot of money. They're making 10, 20, 30,000 pound a month from properties that they either own or have acquired or control using initially none of their own money or very little of their own money. Looking at the stock market, though, I'm not so bullish about the stock market. America's top banker, JP Morgan, warns about a stock market fall. He said there is a higher risk of serious fall in US stocks than is currently being reflected in the market, meaning that the market is still, oh yeah, new highs, let's buy. And this is what happens. This is what happens whenever there's a crash, including the 99 crash, the 1929 crash, the turn of the century crash, and the 2008 crash. Nobody saw it coming. Well, very few people saw it coming, but one of the ones who did was Warren Buffett, who always had a stash of cash, and now he's got 300 billion sitting there in cash, waiting to swoop down on cheap companies when the price of everything goes down. Because when the price of everything goes down, it includes companies like Amazon, who went down 90%, I think, in the 2000 crash. What a buy that would have been. And even good companies, your Apples and your Fangs, your top tech companies will go down. And if you feel that they are good investments or you want to invest in them, that would be a good time to buy when the market has bottomed out. So I am not very bullish on stocks and shares. And you might say, well, I don't invest in shares, but what about the money you've got in your pension fund? Most of that will be invested in the stock market, especially if you're young. So have a word with your fund manager or your pensions administrator and say, where is my money invested? Is it 90% in stocks? Is it a balanced portfolio where I've got some safety net if stocks should fall? And what is it? Just maybe check on that. But in the long run, if you're young and you're investing in a monthly amount in stocks and shares, it doesn't really matter if it's going up and down a bit. It will iron itself out because you're going to be buying those shares when it goes down at cheaper prices. But if you've got a lot of money in your fund and you want to protect it, then that's the time to talk to your administrator or your pension fund team and say, look, I want to protect this. I don't want to suffer a big loss, especially if you're coming near to retirement. You might be in your 50s or 60s and you don't want to see your pension fund fall by 20, 30, 40% even just before you're about to retire. So especially people within 5 years of retirement, that the administrator should be doing something to move your money into safer areas where you are protected against a market fall, a correction, or indeed a crash. So thanks very much for listening. Check out some links below. There's some other episodes you can look at and webinars and courses you can go on to improve your finances, to learn more about money and make more money for yourself and your future. Thanks very much for listening, and bye for now.